everybody, welcome to Board Game Breakfast. I'm Tom Vassell, and we are doing another show in which we're going to be talking about board games with a lot of contributors. Hey folks, our fundraiser has funded. Yeah! Now that doesn't mean it's over. Of course, we have a lot of really cool stretch goals, a lot of different things. Chaz Marler is already on board. We already hit that stretch goal. And there are many other things, including we're hoping where we can get to the point where we can have our own office and studio. If you watched our marathon last week, we went up to Orlando. We're based south of Miami. We drove up to Orlando, about 4 hours away, and we're able to do our marathon there, and that's kind of some of that. We were able to set up cameras and do a whole lot of things that we were able to do, and if we had a studio, we'd be able to do more things like that. So, by the way, if you missed our marathon, we did that last week. There's, I think, 7 different videos where you can watch us or the tabletop view of those, and so a lot of different games were played. If you're curious how some games are played, hopefully we were able to show a lot of them there. And we thank everybody who came in and kind of watched us as we went and made it through 30 hours of gaming. So that was a lot of fun. And we'll be doing more live stuff. I'm not scheduling any of that. We'll just do a little bit of it throughout this week and then probably even more the following week. 2 o'clock today, I'll be doing a question and answer time. So if you have any questions, I'll see you back then. But let's get into Board Game Breakfast now. Oh, I guess before we jump in, we do have a chat room in Slack, if you've never heard of that. In the description of this video, there's a link that you can go to sign up for that and join that. Okay, so now let's get to the news. Well, folks, the news this week, there is so much, so we're going to jump right into that. All right, Fireside Games, probably best known for Castle Panic. Justin DeWitt, one of the designers of Castle Panic, has a new game called Hot Shots. This is a cooperative game where you're putting out fires together, like forest fires it looks like. That's very interesting. I think it's a great theme. I hope this game is really cool. Star Wars Destiny has obviously been selling like gangbusters. Stores are having a hard time keeping it in stock. And of course, Fantasy Flight's going to capitalize that. They've announced the next one, which shockingly is based on Rogue One. So you're going to see a lot of characters from Rogue One, but not only that, you will see other characters showing up in this, including the Emperor himself. When Asmodee bought F2Z Entertainment, which owns Z-Man Games and such, they did not buy the employees or the people who owned it. That was sold to them. Those people have gone off and started their own company, another company called Plan B. Plan B includes Pretzel Games. Pretzel Games was not included with the sale to Asmodee. That sale was included the F2Z, it included Z-Man Games, it included Plaid Hat Games, but Pretzel Games stayed, so they're going to be underneath this new Plan B. But also they have some other games coming. The first one that's been announced is Century Spice Road, which is the first in a trilogy of games. Century is designed by Emerson Matsuuchi. Century is a game that I talked about last year. I got to play a preview of it called Caravan. They've changed the name of it. All 3 of these games are going to work together somehow. Each one's a different century, hence the name. And I'm not sure how that's going to work. But if it's anything like Caravan, if you remember, when I played Caravan last year, I said that was a splendor killer. I think that's going to be an extremely popular game. I really enjoyed it. Can't wait to see it, despite the fact that it's called Spice Road. Okay, Renegade Games has announced a tile matching game called Shiba Ina House. Hasbro is in the news because, yay, they're changing the Monopoly tokens again in their newest set, except they did that before where they took some out and added new ones. Now we're voting on all of them. Keep the hat alive. Vote for the hat. Or vote for the new cowboy hat. That's cool. I would also recommend you vote for sliced bread because there's nothing better, I hear. Clank. Sunken Treasures. This is a new expansion for Clank that Renegade Games has also announced. Very pumped about this one. I really enjoy Clank. This one's going to have underwater parts of the board. So you're still awakening the dragon. So 2 new different boards to go through. And I'm assuming more cards. Gamewright has announced their slate of games for 2017, which is a whole pile of them. There's Go Nuts for Donuts. Then there's more of their card adventure games. Let's see, Vanished and Time Raiders. And they're bringing back a couple games. First of all, Tiki Topo. That was a pretty cool game where you're trying to move different pieces of the tiki to the top. I like that. And a deluxe version of Loot, which has always been a great filler from them. It's reprint city time. Grail Games has announced 2 Reiner Knizia reprints. Both these games They say it's been out of print for 15 years. King's Road, I have not had the chance to play that one, but the new artwork is from Vincent Dutrait, so that's a good sign. And Stephenson's Rocket, which is a train game. Now, there's a lot of train games out there. Knizia hasn't done that many of them. So, I don't know. We'll see if these games hold up after 15 years. I don't know if there's any changes or not. NECA, they are the company and NECA who owns WizKids. They have announced that they have the license for Blade Runner 2049, so I'm sure we'll see some stuff in their line for that coming out this year. The new Ascension has been announced. Ascension, Gift of the Elements. Ascension is going to be kind of like, I think, the James Bond of board games. We're probably going to see expansions for Ascension probably in 2027. Stronghold Games had made a whole pile of announcements, many of them over our live marathon feed that we did last week. The biggest and one that has people the most excited is the fact that they've announced that there is going to be 4 expansions for Terraforming Mars. 2 of them are coming out in 2017. The first is going to be Hellas and Elysium. It looks like the new boards. One's on the other side of Mars, so not sure all the details. And then the second one coming out later this year is Terraforming Mars Venus. So anyway, that's sure very exciting considering how popular the game is. They also got the rights to Flamme Rouge and Dungeon Rush, both of those from La Palette. They're coming in. Flamme Rouge, the bicycle racing game, we played that in our live feed too. Very, very popular biking game. And some other games they're bringing. Coal Baron, the card game, and Get the Cheese. This is done by the same designer of Love Letter. We're still in reprint city. Hooch has announced Taurus is coming back into print. This Spiel des Jahres winner of placing different buildings. I mean, we were talking a lot last week about Santorini. This one has a little bit of that same feeling, but it's a lot more involved. It's probably the heaviest game to ever win the Spiel des Jahres, so that would be cool. And Cosmos, Cosmos has announced that Pillars of the Earth is being reprinted. That's very exciting news. As if you watch our top 10 list, you know that we're always talking about this game. It's a great worker placement game, fantastic. So it is thrilling to see this one coming back in print. And they got another game coming called A Column of Fire, which is also based on Ken Flett's works. So who knows what that game's going to be like, but that will be exciting to see both of those come back in print. All right, I think that's the news. There's probably more news, but we'll get to that next week. For now, I'm going to turn it over to Suzanne.
In Subterra, players are trapped in a cave and have to cooperatively find their way out before their flashlights die and they're stuck forever. Each player has a unique ability, and you'll have to work together in this tile lane exploration game. Watch out for cave-ins, floods, and other dangers of the cave, and while it's safer to stick together, you can split the party to explore faster. On top of all of that, you're not alone in this cave. Stumble onto the wrong hazard and you'll be hunted down by a thing that's in the cave with you. Subterra also has some optional modular expansions that will mix up the gameplay with new characters and abilities. You can get the basic game of Subterra for just £22 plus shipping, all the way up to a deluxe edition for £78 plus shipping that includes some minis for your players. Mr. B Games and L4 Studios are kickstarting a 5th player expansion to WarQuest. In WarQuest, players are warlords trying to take over a mythical land by recruiting a powerful army of elves, dwarves, orcs, and more. There are quests and battles as you seek to control different board areas. The WarQuest rule set has been updated a bit with some new mechanisms that streamline and balance the game, and the expansion includes new experienced units and an elite guard. If you already own WarQuest, you can get this expansion for $48 plus shipping, or if you want to jump in on the game, they have a few pledges left that let you pick up the base game too. Chaosium, the company behind the Call of Cthulhu RPG, is dipping its toes into board games with Con of Cons. Designed by Reiner Knizia and set in the same mythical world as RuneQuest, Con of Cons has players trying to bring back cattle to impress the High Priestess. You'll explore location decks to try and grow your herd, but you'll also reveal blessings, stampedes, and other encounters that you'll have to deal with, including stealing cattle from other players, so you've got to corral your herd before you lose too many cows. Con of Cons is light and quick and absolutely charming thanks to the wonderful art of Ian O'Toole, the artist behind the Gallerist and Venus Deluxe editions. You can get a copy of Con of Cons for a pledge of $20 plus shipping. Alchemical Crystal Quest is a cooperative adventure RPG with gobs of minis. An evil wizard is trying to take control of your islands, and you'll have to work as a team to rescue your wizard teacher and save your magical world. You'll use pets, spells, and weapons over a 12-mission campaign. There are crystals that will enable abilities and equipment to gain as you try to complete different missions. The art is fun and the minis look great, but the thing that will really set this game apart is the adventure book. As you complete objectives, the story will evolve, tying everything together into a larger narrative. And through already unlocked stretch goals, there's a second 12-mission adventure book included with the game, along with over 100 minis. You can get a copy of Alchemical Crystal Quest for a pledge of $75 plus shipping, but at the time of this recording, there were still some $72 early bird pledges open.
Hi, welcome to Miniatures World. Well, to start off 2017, we had a marathon here on the Dice Tower. We had a great time. So, because of the short week and everything, this week we're going to look at all the wonderful work that you guys have been sending me. And already this year, I've gotten tons of wonderful work from you guys. If you guys have any pictures or any comments or need to know anything about painting or anything, questions about miniatures at all, you can always get a hold of me at novaprime860@hotmail.com. And don't forget to check my painting show on my channel on Thursdays at 6, and then here on the Dice Tower at 7 o'clock. So we go 2 hours on a Thursday. Let's go take a look at all the really cool stuff everybody's done. Well, there you have it for this week. Until next time, I'm Rob Warren, and we'll see you soon.
Hey folks, this week from the Dice Tower, you're going to see several reviews of different games. I'm going to be taking a look at some expansions for Eldritch Horror. I'm going to be taking a look that uses the iPad as a hologram. It's called Hologrid, where think of the game they played in Star Wars. So Risky Adventures from Queen Games, 13 Clues, Fuji Flush, Dice Masters, and a few other games that we'll be taking a look over the course of this week, including a brand new one that just came out that I'm excited to talk about. We're also going to be doing our top 10 games from 2007, which is 10 years ago. So we'll be talking about that and just various other things over the course of the week. So keep an eye on our channel. Like I said, we'll try to do a few live games if possible, but that's all very time dependent because there's a lot of things we have to get ready for. There's also the podcast. Don't forget the Dice Tower does a podcast, an audio podcast, and in fact, I often forget to mention this, but many of the different videos that we do, including Board Game Breakfast and Board Game Blender and Throw Punch Lunch and some of our reviews, we take the audio of those and put them on a podcast so that you can just listen to them if you want to. You can find that at dicetoweraudio.com. You can also find all the other great podcasts in our network at dicetowernetwork.com. So check that out. Let's keep going.
Chaz Marler from Pair of Dice Paradise here, and my previously planned segment on which conventions that I would recommend for first-time convention goers will have to wait, because I've received a question. Today's question comes from Eric R., who asks, I am a 44-year-old gamer who wants to attend my very first board game convention this year. Which convention would you recommend for someone who will most likely be traveling alone and is looking to play a variety of board games? Well, that was convenient. Excellent question, Eric. It's one that actually comes up so often, I was already planning on doing a segment about it, but thankfully, now I won't have to because I already am. I would suggest BGG Con, which takes place in November, Dice Tower Con, which usually takes place around the 4th of July, then Origins, followed by Gen Con. Now, BGG Con versus Dice Tower Con was actually a pretty close call, but BGG Con topped this particular list because Dice Tower Con, being in Miami, Florida, means that there's also theme parks and other attractions available, which could make it a good stop if you're traveling with your entire family. But both of these conventions have a friendly atmosphere, they're attended by several thousand gamers, and they both boast an extensive game library providing plenty of potential variety. The third item on the list, Origins, is also an enjoyable convention. Well, last year, Origins was attended by about 16,000 people, and it had a really nice mix of gaming and a large exhibit hall full of vendors. Gen Con is the main event of the board gaming industry in North America. Attended by over 60,000 avid, rabid gamers, Gen Con has an energy level that you just won't see at any other convention. But Gen Con is all about the vendors, the new games, and the spectacle. But a potentially overlooked item that would actually top my list would be local conventions. Now, until I actually went out of my way to start looking for local conventions, I didn't realize how many were out there. I didn't know that there's an organization in my town of 160,000 people that hosts an annual 3-day convention plus 3 quarterly gaming days. And local conventions can be a great way to meet nearby gamers and discover even more local gaming opportunities that are right under your nose. Well, there you go. I hope that this information has been helpful to you, Eric, and join me next time when I'll either tackle another viewer question or I don't know, eat a sandwich?
Hey everyone, it's
Lunchtime! Today we're going to be looking at the game Kanagawa. This game plays 2 to 4 players. It's for ages 10 and up. Plays in about 45 minutes and was created by Bruno Cathala and Charles Chevalier by ELO Games.
Kanagawa is a game where you're learning to paint in the Japanese style. And so each card in the game can be used in one of 2 ways. Either you can add it to your tableau if you have the right colors of paints in order to paint it, or you can turn it and flip it around, I guess, and use the other side of the card, with the other edge of the card, which allows you to add it to your studio and make an improvement on your studio to give you more options.
Mm-hmm. You're trying to obviously earn the most points by playing out 11 cards. You put 11 cards into your print, in addition to your starting card. Mm-hmm. Then you basically end the game and the most points win. So you're getting points through the different types of seasons you use. If you get any tiles that, like if you have 3 people and you get the little bonus tile for having 3 people, or 3 different buildings, stuff like that. So you're trying to gather your points different ways. Mm-hmm. And of course you're trying to get some other victory points in your studio. You can get victory points by turning the cards over the other way. So strategically you gotta figure out which way you want to play the card.
I really, really like this game. The watercolor look to it is really pretty. I like the concept of paints because, you know, I do art. Tracy does a bit of art as well. I had an urge. I just like, oh, I'll take this card and I'll just take this card. And I'm like, oh, wait, I don't have the paints to finish that. So I'm collecting all these cards, not paying attention that I need the paints in order to get the points. Or at least
you had a very improved studio.
I did. I did, unfortunately. So, but I mean, there were 2 ways to kind of get your points. And I was a little late with getting the additional points by completing, you know, a set of certain types of animals. You know, it was really hard because if you passed it by, I said, I'll wait for the next level of points. Well, someone may have snagged it after you, and then you can't go back and get that original set of points that you wanted. So, you know, you got to be quick on the game with that. But overall, I really enjoyed it, and it's a very pretty game, so can't say no to that. So I'm looking forward to playing this one again. How about you guys?
Oh yes, very much so.
It'll hit the table pretty frequently.
Yeah, exactly. Great lunchtime game. I think it's relatively easy to teach to colleagues. I think this might be played over a slightly longer lunch hour.
Yes, with 4 players, it would probably take almost the full 45 minutes, but when we
Right.
played it with 4, it was pretty quick.
Oh, very cool. So this is definitely the thumbs up for me. There you go. So we'll see you next time. Bye.
So we were talking the other day about the Blue Monday, or it's supposed to be the most depressing day of the year, which is either this Monday or next Monday, one of these Mondays, where somebody came up with this formula, which has been debunked, but it was like, how much debt is due, the holidays are over, you didn't keep your New Year's resolutions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the blues come in, this year, So I hope that our show doesn't contribute to that. I know Mondays are not everyone's favorite days, but we can look forward to the future. And one thing I want to talk today is a acronym which I did not know what it meant. I saw FOMO. What does that mean? It means fear of missing out. And I think about this a lot lately because I have felt this many times in the past, and it's something that happens in the board game community in 2 different ways. In one way, it has to do with conventions, right? You will see people go to conventions, and you will look at those conventions and you say, wow, I wish I could be at these conventions, I wish I could be at these events, and you're not there. And because of the internet, we have this plethora of reports and such, and you're like, oh man, I wish I was there. At the same time, we run into this same thing with board games, like, oh, I heard about this game, I heard about this game, I heard about this game, I heard about this game. I need to play these because I might miss the greatest game of all time. And if you let this consume you, you will be a very unhappy person. Let's take one convention. All right, let's say I go to Gen Con. Now, Gen Con is a huge convention, and let's say you have the ability to go to Gen Con. You cannot do everything. You cannot go watch the costume parade and go see the card holo demolished and go see every booth at the fair and be part of the X-Wing tournament and go over here and go watch this and see all the different auctions and be part of the auctions and go buy the great deal that's over here and go over and watch this show over here and this thing, and they schedule 2 things at the same time, so how are you going to watch them both? You can't do it. And if you try to do as much as you possible and you're always worried, did you go see the best thing? You will not have any fun at all. Sometimes you just got to miss stuff. And you don't got to be everywhere. You don't have to be everything. And that's just being at the convention. There used to be a convention, and well, it still is around. It's called the Gathering of Friends. And I have had the opportunity this year to go to the Gathering of Friends, and I've gone a couple years in the past. But I used to remember when the Gathering of Friends was one of the few conventions. There used to be many less conventions than there are today. And I would read about the Gathering of Friends, and I would see the different things happening there. And I was like, wow, this is an amazing event. Everyone's having a fantastic time, and I really wish I could go. And they're looking like they're having a blast, and I'm missing out. But you know what? We have to be very cautious about that. I used to go to Origins regularly, and I would go and I'd have a great time, and then I would see reports on Gen Con, and like, oh man, what about Gen Con? And then I was at Gen Con, I missed Essen. But once you get to go to these conventions, you'll find that they are really fun. They are really amazing. But if you miss it, it isn't the end of the world. I don't remember missed conventions. I do remember the ones I've gone to. There are games that I still have not played that people say, why, you can't believe you played this. But there isn't time to play all the games. I played more games than almost anyone else alive. That's not a bragging thing. It's part of my job. I play a lot of games, and I still can't play them all. And if I had this fear of missing out on getting every single game played, it would drive me crazy. We talk about completionists in gaming, right? Somebody who has to own everything. And those people should never get into collectible card games and probably shouldn't even get into many board games that have promos and things all over the place because it literally drives them nuts as they're trying to figure out, how can I get everything? They got to have it all. But we can often be that way with experiences. And I've had people email me and say they get depressed because they read convention reports or they hear about this really cool game that's at a print and they can't get to it. And I just want to say as a reminder, we really do have access to things. You might not be able to go to a convention, but you're probably close enough to drive to something fun, to go somewhere and have a good time. And enjoy that. Enjoy what you're doing. I have a problem when I go to restaurants. When I go there and I look and the menu looks great. And I order a dish and then I sit there and wonder if I missed a better dish. And I look at everyone else's plates as they come, and I'm like, I hope mine is as good as everybody else's. And sometimes you're like, oh man, that looks better than what I got. But that's crazy, right? That's something I need to remind myself and say, Tom, what's wrong with that? You have a perfectly good meal in front of you. And if I do that with games too, like I bought this game, I hope it's fun. If you have fun playing that game, you don't need to own every single game that comes out. There's way too many. Look at my news section this week. I talked about more games than anybody's probably going to play in a month just in the news. Those were things that have been announced, and more will be announced. So go out, enjoy the moment. Have fun playing the games you can play. Don't worry about the ones you can't. Don't worry about the events you can't get to. Hey, if you can get to them, or you have the ability to read about them or watch them live later on or whatever, that's fantastic, but you can't go to everything. You can't do everything. And you'll have a wonderful time if you do that. It's a good life philosophy, just that whole fear of missing out, like, oh, but is there something better over there? Who cares? Enjoy the things you're doing now.
Hi guys, this week for me is all about my son's birthday. He turns 8 tomorrow, so I thought this moment would be great to talk about the games he loves so far and which games will be interesting for him in the future. First off, right now, number one game he always wants to play, Mousetrap. And I can see why. It is a game where you get to build stuff and at the end you get to put it all in motion. This year for Christmas he got another big toy, Space Hawk, which is a huge spaceship that you get to fly around with. It comes with game boards and dice. The only downside is you need a smartphone to operate it. Another game he's been loving this year is Catacombs, which is a flicking game. A dungeon crawler where the heroes and all the monsters need to be flicked on a huge table. And he always wants to be the dungeon master. It's a game that takes over 2 hours, but he's still engaged after 2 hours. So I thought that was very amazing. But it's a game he plays with adults, and I want him to play with his friends. So, how about Clask? Someone gifted this to us. And Clask is a great game, 2-player game. Very easy because you just want to score. Last month we started playing Catan, and that has been a huge success because you're building. He loves playing King Domino, Carcassonne. We played Dream House in Essen, which is a game in which you make your own dream house, room by room, making your own house. He loved playing that one. So for his birthday I have bought him something similar. Only a game that I think he can play with his friends and not only with adults. And it's called Best Treehouse Ever. In the Best Treehouse Ever, every player starts out with a trunk and then you add rooms to that trunk. You want to have rooms adjacent to each other that are the same color so you get more points at the end of the game. But also, and that makes it tricky, your tree needs to be in balance. I haven't played it yet, but it looks very promising, so I'll make sure to get back to you on how things go. I'm very interested in which games you guys think that are appropriate for kids of 8, 9, 10 years old. Please let me know and I can check them out. My name is Dave Luzan. Have a great week, guys. See you next week.
Let's talk about what is on the shelf. So here we have a couple shelves in my collection, and these are, oh man, I can't tell you how much I like Adventureland. Every time I teach this to people, it's just so much fun to play. It's a game from Haba where you have a grid and different things are appearing on the grid. Great fun. Just played this a couple weeks ago and really enjoy it. And Shadows over Camelot. Yes, this game is a decade old now from Days of Wonder, but I really love it. I love the whole trying to figure out who the traitor is. Great components, great, just wonderful production from Days of Wonder. Escape. You'll notice that I like real-time cooperative games. Escape brings that tension. It's crazy, it's silly, it's fun. Very cool game. Level 7 Omega Protocol is very much like playing XCOM, the board game. I really like this one from Privateer Press. I don't know, there's just something really cool about it. Now I wonder how long I'll keep this, because there are other games in this genre that are coming out. Of course, there's Star Wars Imperial Assault, but I had someone paint my figure, so I'll probably still have it a long time, and it's an excellent, excellent game. Mage Wars, of course, I'm always talking about this one. There's a lot of stuff in here. Mage Wars, of course, set. I play this one less and less these days because I'm playing Mage Wars Academy more. So I'm not sure how long this one will stay here, but there is still a lot of cards in here, a lot of things to play. Feast for Odin, this was Melody's favorite game from last year, but I also really enjoy it. At some point, we'll do a live playthrough of this one so you guys can see this one going on. A lot of different options and things going on. Just a great, I mean, it's certainly complex to some degree, but a lot of fun. And then this says Black Secret, but this is just my Ghost Stories game. Everything for Ghost Stories is in there. We played this live a couple weeks ago, and it is a fantastic, still one of my favorite cooperative games. Great games on these shelves. That's what's on the shelf this week.
Hey, this is Mike with the Board Game Makeover. This past week, I had the unfortunate opportunity to pass a kidney stone. They say kidney stones are like birthing a baby for women. That's not true at all. There was no party, no baby party, no gifts, no flowers, nothing. There's pain medication, that helped. And I wouldn't exactly call a kidney stone a bundle of joy, because it's not. And I found out that a grown man writhing in pain can get one to thinking about board games. Thinking about board games and why there are none that address these human annoyances. For example, instead of Stone Age, why are we not playing Kidney Stone Age? A game where players are stones of various sizes trying to escape the imprisonment of the kidney in hopes of eventually winning by being the first to make it to the bladder. Or how about, instead of playing the gallerist, play the allergist? The age of medicine and capitalism has created a new occupation, the allergist, combining the elements of a medical doctor, a pharmaceutical company, and a special interest groups. You are about to take on that job. You know, and sometimes you might catch a cold or something where you and a bunch of other people all have it at the same time. It's called a co-op. So instead of playing Captain Sonar, you ought to play Dr. Ultrasound. You and your teammates control a state-of-the-art ultrasound and are trying to detect problems in the liver, heart, kidney, or abdomen in order to diagnose an issue, be organized, and communicate, because a doctor is nothing without his support staff, the chief nurse, the IT operator, and the ultrasound technician. And of course, if you have animals, and sometimes they get fleas and stuff, instead of playing Mice and Mystics, why don't you play Mice and Malaria? In Mice and Malaria, players take on the roles of pest exterminators. But to avoid the rampant malaria disease, they must be cunning and race through a castle which is swarmed by hordes of malaria-carrying mosquitoes. Each player will have a vital role in the quest to locate the queen's nest and kill every mosquito, and it'll take careful planning to find their weaknesses and defeat them all. You know, that's just a few of them that I came up with while I was in pain. It's amazing the things that you think about when you're on pain medications. How about instead of playing Blood Bowl, there's Blood Clot Bowl? Or Diplomacy could be Narcolepsy. The Battle of Five Armies could very easily be the Battle of Five Personalities. Dream Factory could become Migraine Factory. And finally, Reef Encounter could be Flu Encounter, trying to avoid the flu. Lots of great ideas came to me during this time of intense pain, but I got through it. I'm back to my normal self. I'm back on track, and I thank you for watching the Board Game Makeover. We'll see you next time.
Hello and welcome back. My name is Niels from Cyril's Brettspiele, and today in the best and the worst we are talking about Not Alone. What is my favorite on it? My favorite part in Not Alone is by far the cool combination of genre mixes. It's hand management. You have 5 location cards at the start of the game in your hand. Later on you get a little bit more, which is a little bit of a deck building aspect, but also bluffing, so because you pick one and probably maybe take the action from this area, then the creature guy has to guess where you are. Let's say he's blocking this one, and with a card from here from the creature deck he's blocking this one, so he picked 2 out of 5, and all the players are doing this. Later on these are in a discard pile, so you can see that that's a cool mixture of genres. I really like that. That is phenomenal. technically after the first 3 or 4 rounds, if the hunted crew, the complete crew, gets a lot of these locations in the first 3 or 4 rounds, they are in a huge, gigantic advantage. Then the creature has to place his token on 1 out of 10. On the other hand, if the creature can manage to get the 3 guesses first correctly, then he gets up to 3 spots here, or maybe even 4. So he's very close to the end already. And on top of that, the people don't have enough cards in their hand. They don't have additional locations maybe. So it's extremely hard to win the game anymore for the hunted.
Thanks for being not alone with me this time in the best and the worst. Enjoy the rest of the Dice Towers breakfast and see you next week here live with Niels from... You know that, right? Bye-bye.
Hello, my name's Dan and this is Cora, and we're here today to talk to you about board games for children of around 5 and under. Today we're going to talk about this game. What is it, Cora?
Peng.
Peng! Peng is a nice and cheap habit game, all about that most popular of sports, hedgehog balloon racing. The players take it in turn to play a numbered card and move the corresponding number of spaces around a track. However, they can also play a red Peng card, which causes their opponent's balloon to pop on their hedgehog spikes, forcing them to return to the nearest balloon pumping station to get it refilled. However, if your opponent then plays a yellow card, they get to sneak behind a bush and blow it back up themselves, and then continue their sprint for the finish line. Peng may not be for all kids, as there's certainly a take that aspect to the gameplay. However, there are enough yellow cards to make it relatively rare for players to have to go backwards too often. Plus, Cora very much enjoys popping my hedgehog's balloons. The little swine. So Cora, what did you think about Peng?
I like it because, like, you took the shotgun and I tried, and I went out. Oh no, I'm going to do the shotgun.
Yeah, there's little different ways you can go, isn't there? Where you can.
One long way off. There's like a 0.
Yeah.
And then like for a shortcut. But sometimes you can try and like win with going
round the long way. Yeah, the long way's safer, but the shortcut, you know, you might win a bit easier. Yeah, so it's good. So Peng, I give it 2 thumbs up. Cora, 2 thumbs up.
Hi, Suzanne here with this week's featured board game app. Renegade Games is entering the board game app world. I mean, yeah, they already have the Fuse Timer app out, but Lanterns the Harvest Festival is their first full-featured board game app. How'd they do? Well, they released it for iOS and Android, and that's a great start. So let's take a quick look at Lanterns. In Lanterns, players place lake tiles on a shared tableau to earn lantern cards to use to complete dedications for points. One clever bit of the game is that the tile orientation really matters because players get cards based on the color of the lanterns on the tile that's facing them, not just the active player. This keeps the game engaging and quickly paced. Special tiles with platforms provide favor tokens, which gives some flexibility, and overall this is a lovely game to play. Renegade Games and Direwolf Digital clearly put a lot of thought into the app conversion. The first thing you notice is that the app is beautiful. The graphics are lovely and the ambient animations really enhance the game's setting. Beyond aesthetics, there's an interactive tutorial that will teach you the game and interface. The UI is intuitive and the rules are in the app as well, which is a feature a lot of app makers forget. This app features 3 levels of AI to play solo against, but more importantly, the game features online cross-platform play that works really well to play against your friends. All the features of a Tier 1 app are here, and in a recent update, they added the brand new Emperor's Gifts expansion for free, which includes Emperor cards that are randomized to mix up the gameplay a bit, pavilions and gift tokens, and Wild Lanterns cards. As a base game, Lanterns is light and satisfying, and it plays well solo, but is even better multiplayer. The addition of the expansion is a bonus that really notches up the gameplay and app value. The Lanterns app is a top-tier game and app experience that I definitely recommend you check out.
Apparently, good things come in small packages, like credit card details or most of a puppy, and today I'm continuing my little series on German language card games that are just down hard, rootin', tootin', boy howdy, 3 steps from being a barn dance on a church Sunday in a rootin', tootin' something. Barn dance? Rye whiskey? My first one for you today is Hamsterback. And in Hamsterback, you've got to scurry your cards away like a little gerbil. Wait. And the way you do this is just by taking cards. But when you take cards, more cards are put out, which makes tastier treats for the next rodent to scurry. Oh yeah. Play. The game is so good because the decisions you make are simple but meaningful, and difficult to make because you don't want to mess it up and make the next person score all those delicious hamster points. And the second game is I Go, which comes in a horribly annoying tuck box with mediocre stock cards and bland mass market kind of Uno graphics. I'm just going to go out and say it. I Go is one of the best card games I have ever played. For realsies. It's got kind of a rummy feel, but there's loads of tension added by the way your hand scores as you try to go out based on what's on top of a display deck. And going out is so risky because too soon and you might not have a winning hand, but too late and the card you're relying on being on top of the display deck might be gone, destroying your entire hand. I don't like a lot of games that are rummy, but better somehow. But I Go just kinda is. So that's 2 more for you to try out, and get down to your local hootenanny and try a barn horse I have no idea what I'm saying. Almost all of the time. Bye.
And that's it for another Board Game Breakfast. Folks, I really appreciate you watching our show each week. Again, I'm very thankful for each of the contributors to this show. Don't forget to check out Week in Review. We post that each week of short clips of all the videos that we did the previous week. And there's lots of videos that we've done each week. You can go back and check them out. There's more videos coming out. I'll see you back at 2 o'clock today for question and answer time. And, of course, we're halfway done with our fundraiser. Time is running out. If you're considering backing it, we would ask that you go check it out. There's some really cool rewards for people who back it. And for those who already backed it, we say a huge thank you to you. All right, well, until next time, I'm Tom Bassel, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast.
Thanks for watching Board Game Breakfast. Tune in each week for your daily dose of gaming goodness with Tom Vassell and all the gang. Until next time, I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast, a Dice Tower production, sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., an amazing place to buy board games. Cool stuff in stock at coolstuffinc.com.